So now I want to take a look at something important, which is collision shapes. So I'm going to use the pig head and just plug that in here. That's looking for a name attribute, which we don't have. So let's give it one. We can use name, which will give it a name attribute. There we go. Okay, and then dive into here. This is not happy. Oh, 1 second. Let me just double check what we've got. And oh, that should be okay. Oh yeah, there we go. And let's just move that pig head up a bit. Just like that. Dive inside again. Okay, and play that, and it works fine. So, you know, what Bullet is actually simulating is not what you see here. If we come into the packed object here, where's that gonna? Oh, okay, that doesn't matter. If we come in here and go to Bullet Data and go to Show Geometry Guide, this is what we're actually simulating. Okay, so this shape is what is being simulated. Okay, that's a representation of this geometry, and that's being controlled by this, which says convex hull, and that's the not the easiest, but the most common way to simulate bullets. So using these convex hulls, it's easier than a concave hull, which you can use. And if we do show that, you can see, and if we hide that, you can see it, you know, it's just the same, but it should be okay here, but it can be a lot slower and problematic. But it doesn't stop there. You can use a box, so that will be faster still. You can use, the fastest would be a sphere, okay, which will simulate. In this instance, we can't really tell the difference, but you know, with a lot of different pieces, it makes sense. But convex hull, the default, is the most common, and for good reason. It works quickly and efficiently. So, you know, it's okay with this because, you know, we don't expect, if we were colliding with an object which came in here, then it might look strange. So what happens if you need, you know, something to kind of pass into there? Let's see if we can find, maybe if I rotate it around like that. And then what we could do is have it collide with something else. Yeah, let's do that. So if I put a box here and plug it into the second input and grab a collision source. No, we don't need that. We'll just do it. Simple. Okay, drop a null under here, call that out call, and just copy it. Go in here, tab, static object, merge them together. Okay, and then we've got to find that, which was out call. I'll bring it in there. So this will just build the, normally we build the VDB on the outside, but I'll just do it in here now. And we can visualize that here. That looks fine. Okay. Maybe I'll shape the box so that it, you know, I want to show the problems with that can happen with these convex hulls. So if I template that, and if we drag that out like that, kind of do that. So, you know, we'd expect this piece to go in there, but that won't happen. You can see it's colliding with the convex hull. Let me just move it down so it's a bit more obvious. Okay, so that kind of demonstrates the the problem there. So you can see there, that looks right, but obviously that's not right with this. So the easiest way to fix this is using the RBD convex decomposition. Oh no, it's not RBD, it's just convex decomposition. There it is. So just drop that before, after the pack. No, I think before, yeah. Up here, so you can see it's already doing something. Okay, so now if I start to drop this max concavity, we start to see something. So this is building multiple shapes. If we turn off the shader there, because that's giving us some weird results. And what we've got here is multiple separate pieces that represent the earlier piece. So if we go to 3D connectivity, we can see we've got separate, different pieces, but what's important is that they will all have the same oh, name attribute. I've left it blank. Let's say pig. They'll have the same value for that name attribute, okay? And that's the same if we fracture this, you know, the name attribute will stay the same. So if we come back here now, show that doesn't look good, but if we come here and see create convex hull per set of connected primitives, there we go. So now each of those 3D pieces, those separate pieces, will be considered one convex piece. However, the entire thing, because it has the same name attribute, will be treated as one object. So there we get around that problem. Now, you know, what you might think is, you know, our geometry looks terrible now. So what we can do is transform pieces, which will be here. And then we want the template points. Geometry to transform is this, but we want that before the convex decomposition, but we want the name attribute, and that should work fine. There we go. So there we got our original fancy geometry. Just press 9 to get rid of this visualizer thing. There we go. And that's using just the one point that comes out of there to transform this piece of geometry. But the bullet solver does all of that internally. So if you connect into the left this geometry, and into the right, see proxy geometry there. Then we got not constraint, sorry, we got the geometry, proxy geometry, and then here we can plug in our collision geometry, which is this collider, and we should get the same result. There we go. Look at that. Another option, so that's one option. Another thing is, if I remember correctly, VDB to spheres. I think it's this. And if we take that there and start to drop the radius, let's see why it's complaining. We need to generate the VDB first. Okay, VDB from polygons. There we go. And we start to get, as you can see, a representation of our object in spheres. So we can make lots of small spheres like that. And then let's see, what else can you do? Raise that so we get more spheres. The minimum radius, we can probably drop that down again. So we get really small. Turn off the max spheres, there we go. And we probably need to raise this resolution as well. Give us some more detail. Do that again. Now it's taking a bit of time. There we go. So again, there, this will be the same. So these should have, well, we'll have to attribute copy. We'll have to copy over that name attribute and then put that in here because we'll lose it there. And we want the name. Okay. Plug that into here. And that should work the same. Yep. See, so each of those is represented by a sphere. Now what I would do is go in here and change this to sphere, which should be even quicker. Oh, that doesn't work now. Has to be convex hull for each separate piece. But that will be quicker again, and still this should work as well. Okay, so a couple of options there for dealing with concave geometry. Quite often, even if I'm not doing something like this, even if I have convex pieces, I'll still use like spheres or something if it doesn't really, if there are lots of tiny pieces. I'll often use boxes for lots of small pieces. So if we take a look at the fracture, so if we come back here, I want to get rid of that cluster. No, let's use this one in here. Sorry, this is kind of messy now, but it doesn't matter. Okay, and just watch that quickly. That's not working. Oh, that needs to be packed as well. Plug that in there. There we go. So let's use these. And I'm going to get rid of the poly extrude. And maybe give ourselves some more points. You can see that another thing there, you can see that we've got long pieces, so that's because of this scatter is only scattering on the surface of that piece of geometry. So important thing to do is to fill, use a volume. So VDB from polygons there, and set this to fog VDB. So there now we will scatter throughout the geometry and we'll have lots of equal sized pieces. See, that's getting a bit slower now. I want to slow it down further so that we can see the difference in performance. There we go. So sometimes when you've got these kind of small pieces, you find maybe they kind of have too much movement and it looks a bit strange. It's not too bad here, but that's in one situation where, well, we've got it set to box now already, actually. If I set it to convex hull, and I'm going to turn off the show guide geometry because that slows it down quite a bit. You can see this is going quite a bit slower now than when we had it on box. And we got quite a bit more movement on the PC. They're kind of rolling around. Right? Play it again, it should be faster. You can see there, it seems like they're quite rounded, but that's because they are. Collision padding, that will add to that so that, it expands the geometry a little bit to make the collisions more accurate. But what it will do is make them a little bit rounded. You can see they're kind of rounder then. You see the corners being cut off there. So yeah, often what I do is just set it to boxes, and that will be much faster. And they will slow down much quicker as well. And then if I set this to spheres, you'll see it should be even faster still. But now obviously they'll just roll for ages. So if it's not, if you're not using gravity, maybe something exploding in space or something abstract, then spheres is a good option as well. But yeah, just something to take note of. And to be aware of, always check your collision geometry. Take a look at it when you're simulating and see, does it look good or not? And if not, then you may need to turn it into spheres. Whoops. Or use this convex decomposition. This is a new node, but it's great. They've got some shelf tools to do them up here, I think. Yeah. See, convex proxy. So that just makes this, I think. And then you got this ABD sphere, which does this whole setup for you as well.